Let's begin the conversation, Senator. What do you make of this scenario the president has painted in that statement of those who he said are mercilessly against his country?
Thank you. I would like to look at it from the angle of symptoms and signs of a diseased complex. That is the state of the nation. Are you following me? The state of the nation. Mm-hmm. The foundational problem has to do with 6 thematic areas. 1 is poverty. 2 is national transformation. 3 is the youth bulge. That's the demographic changes. 4 is the critical infrastructure. 5 is gap crisis. And 6 is failed expectation framework. So whichever way you may look at it, it boils down to 6 areas that represent the foundation of the disease state of Nigeria.
If you look at what you've highlighted some of the issues that, in your view, that are the major problems. But if you look at what the president painted, it does look like he's frustrated and he's angry at what looks like a deliberate attempt by a group of people to frustrate the actions of government and what they are doing in curbing the issues, challenges facing the economy and the issues of insecurity. In your own view, do you think there are people that are deliberately frustrating the efforts of government?
Well, I wouldn't agree that people are deliberately frustrating the efforts of government. However, it doesn't mean you still have people who engage in anti-social activities. But I'm saying that the basis, the foundation of the problem is economic inequality, gap crisis, where you have massive inequality, where you have poverty. This breeds social ills, aggression, distortion of values. I believe people are fighting for a place under the sun. They are trying to survive. So we have to go down to the basics, which is to address the ills of the society. I believe that what he's talking about are just signs and symptoms of a society that is not at rest.
But one we wonder that some of these things that you said, the gap, issues of inequality, poverty.
The gap crisis.
Yeah, the gap crisis,
yes.
Inequality, poverty issue that you have mentioned. These are some of the issues that are age-long. Some people will say they've been there for years. What has it come to the point that it is now so threatening and so vicious that is tearing our nation apart?
Yes, they've been there for years. But the problem is that despite the so-called economic growth, if you look at the millennium years, the year 2000 up, you find out that the economic growth was about 7%. Yet it did not affect poverty, absolute poverty. We live in a society where over 50% of the people are extremely poor, maybe 86.9 million, with poverty rates going from 70% in North down to 10 to 20% in Lagos. So you see that despite the so-called economic growth, the number of people who are poor, extremely poor, continues to increase. It doesn't affect absolute poverty. So with the fact that greater awareness, the influence of social media is coming to a situation where you have increased awareness, increased resistance. So there's greater awareness of these problems. It's been there for us. It's been there with us for a very, very long time. But I believe that there's greater awareness, there's greater sensitivity. You have expansion of the youth. You have the so-called youth bulge and possibility of a demographic bomb. So I believe the restiveness has to do with a national reawakening and awareness in tune with what is happening globally.
I was asking that question. I premised it on what the president felt, because for him to voice that, it shows that he's made effort here, but he's perhaps not getting the right result. And the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, says the government is profiling some highly placed persons allegedly involved in terrorism financing for prosecution. I allow you, Senator, to listen to a short clip of the Attorney General of the Federation on this matter.
Sometimes back, there were certain convictions of Nigerians allegedly involved in terrorism financing in the United States of America, United States of UAE, United Arab Emirates. That gave rise to a wider and far-reaching investigations in Nigeria, and I'm happy to report that arising from the wider coverage investigations that has been conducted in Nigeria, a number of people, both institutional and otherwise, were found to be culpable, were found to, reasonable grounds for suspicion of terrorist financing have been established or perhaps has been proven to be in existence in respect of the transactions of certain higher profile individuals and businessmen across the country. And I'm happy to report that investigation has been ongoing for long and it has reached an advanced stage. Arising from the investigation, there exists certainly reasonable grounds for suspicion that a lot of Nigerians, high profile, institutional and otherwise, are involved in terrorist financing.
You heard the AGF there. Isn't it worrisome that some high profile, according to the government, are funding terror on this country?
Yes. What is also worrisome to me is the issue of banditry, which clearly is terrorism. Calling it banditry is just sanitizing it. The issue of banditry, which is internal terrorism, the farmers' herders conflicts, kidnapping, and the activities in Niger Delta and also Southeast. So if you're going to talk about terrorism, you're going to talk about the activities of Boko Haram, the activities of the Islamic State in the West African province, the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, the Al-Qaeda, and of course the problems with the farmer herders conflict, kidnapping. These are areas that threaten the security architecture of the nation, and that worries me more.
Why would anybody want to fund terror on his own country? Or why would an outsider want to fund terror on Nigeria? What are the indices or what are the things you think are causing the funding? Talk to us on terror funding and the implications. Just how can we ensure that these saboteurs don't excel in their evil endeavors?
I believe that what the government is doing is okay. We cannot underestimate the place of Nigeria in Africa and the world. You're talking about 200 million Africans. You're talking about largest economy in Africa and largest progressing economy in Africa. There could be a motivation, there could be an incentive to destabilize Nigeria. By destabilizing Nigeria, you have a greater effect on progress in Africa and even the world over. I'm not going to speculate on what the incentives are, but I believe that what the Attorney General is in the right direction.
Some of your colleagues, when you had that debate on the floor of the Senate, are saying the president should seek foreign help. At that meeting where the president spoke with the Secretary of State of the United States, he was asking for the relocation of their agency from Germany to Africa. What, in your view, could any of this country do for Nigeria, and how can we go about it? Have we gotten to the point that we need a foreign help in this situation that we are in?
Before I address that, let me just make a comment, because there's information out there about concerns about the Secretary of State being the one to address the president of Nigeria. And some people are blaming Nigeria, blaming Nigerian government, Nigerian foreign affairs. I believe that what happened is actually a failure of American foreign policy is actually a demonstration of ignorance on the part of the Americans. Because I said earlier on, Nigeria is the greatest nation in Africa, 200 million people or more, largest economy. Nigeria fought for the liberation of Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique. Nigeria has fought for liberation and stabilization in Sierra Leone, Sudan, Liberia, Somalia. So I believe that it is a failure on the American foreign policy and ignorance that the American president could not relate directly to the Nigerian president rather than vice versa. Having said that, I believe that efforts need to be geared towards expertise in terms of intelligence gathering. I'm not going to go into the basics because I'm not a security expert, but we know people talk about things like chatter. People talk about things like listening in. People talk about satellite surveillance. I believe that these are areas where Nigeria will need foreign assistance. The president also asked for relocation of the African command. I believe relocation to the coast of Africa will also provide greater involvement in terms of surveillance. I believe that there is indeed need for foreign help in terms of surveillance, in terms of intelligence gathering, and even in terms of providing armaments, and even expertise in this area of struggle and war against terrorism. So I support foreign involvement. Foreigners have been involved in our healthcare. They've been involved in our education. They've been involved in banking and commerce. Even the railways are being constructed by the Chinese. So the welfare and security of the people is the foundation of governance. So I don't see anything wrong with involving foreigners in the area of the fight against terrorism.
So it was first a situation where a region was badly troubled with the insecurity matter a few years ago, but now it has stretched to other areas. Like your region, Southeast, is also experiencing a lot of trouble in terms of insecurity. What would you say is the main reason this situation has escalated and spreading in the manner in which we have seen? You've mentioned some issues, but I'm looking at a space in which in the last few months, at least in the beginning of the year, from the beginning of this year up to this point, what do you think caused the spread and the manner in which things have gone so bad?
Well, I believe that there's a greater flow of information. There's greater awareness. There's greater, just like the Arab uprising. Nigeria cannot live Nigeria cannot continue to exist in isolation. I believe that the basic foundation are problems with poverty, youth bulge, critical infrastructure, gap crisis, failed expectation framework. I believe that all these things are becoming more and more apparent with exchange of ideas through the social media. And of course, agitations, ethnic agitations, youth restiveness. So this ethnic agitation also manifests with what is going on. Specifically, you have the farm header conflicts. You have internal terrorism, also called banditry. You have kidnapping. You have the unrest in the southeast that has not been clearly delineated. As an Igbo, I found it anti-cultural for an Igbo to fight a so-called war of blame, sneaking into police stations at night to destroy police stations. I believe it's un-Igbo. I condemn it clearly. We do not fight a war of blame. We cannot continue to destroy our infrastructure.
But what
I believe that there are
specifically?
certain issues.
Yeah. So what is causing the situation in the southeast specifically?
Well, I believe the situation in the Southeast has to be studied. It has to be studied maybe through a judicial inquiry, or people arrested could be taken to court. Maybe through the judicial process, we'll find out what is going on.
So
But
you
I
don't
believe
think that it is
restiveness
political as some... Sorry, apologies. So you don't think it's political as some leaders in the region are saying?
Well, it is political as far as the farm-header conflict is political. As far as Boko Haram is political. As far as the banditry called internal terrorism is political. These are just symptoms and signs of a sick nation.
So if you look at, I know that the service chiefs and the military leadership have come to the National Assembly to meet with your colleagues and they're speaking about their frustration. What is their major problem? Or what did they tell the senators that are the major problem stopping them, not allowing them to do their job well?
I believe, without going into specifics, I believe that the military, as it were, is overstretched. We have the military operating in over 30 states. You have the Boko Haram coming from northeastern Nigeria. You have internal terrorism coming from northwestern Nigeria, inflow from Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and then inflow from Libya. You have agitations in the Niger Delta. You have in the southeast. You have farmers, herders conflicts going through north central, coming down to southwest, southeast. So I believe that the security architecture is stretched. Then you look at the border, the porous border of almost 1,500 kilometers between Nigeria and Niger, and of course the Chad Basin. The immigration customs are stretched. The military is stretched, and of course the police. So I believe there's a major threat on the security architecture. So what we have to do will be to hire more human power, more manpower, acquire more armaments, and see whether we can have some assistance from in terms of foreign help with security, with surveillance, and even security surveillance, and even human capacity to deal with the issue. I believe the security architecture is overstretched.
Let's take a breather, Senator Nnamani. Up next on the program, Rescue Nigeria is in the midst of the security and economic woes get attention. And when we return, we talk more on the way forward for Nigeria. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. A former governor of Enugu State and a senator representing Enugu East in the National Assembly, Senator Chimaroke Nnamani, has been talking to us on the program. Thank you, Senator Nnamani, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Quickly, on the issue of security, former President Obasanjo did not quite encourage the idea of paying ransom to abductors on the issue of rescuing those abducted by these kidnappers or bandits. How best do you think this situation can be handled?
Yes. Talking about ransom. Paying ransom is ineffective because clearly these different groups don't have the same goals. In addition, the leadership is different. You have different leaders for different groups. And of course, you don't have involvement of local communities. So ransom will not work. Rather, ransom could incentivize the internal terrorism, also called banditry. I believe that there is a competition to win the soul of the young Nigerian who elects to be a bandit or a terrorist. Government has to compete. There is competition between government and the terrorist leaders or the bandit leaders. Do these young men stay within their communities or do they go to the forest? I believe government has to do something. to keep them within their system. It could be through adult literary education. It could be through some level of welfare. It could be through skill acquisition, provision of aggressive tackling unemployment aggressively. There has to be something for them to lose the incentive to go to the forest or go to the bush. I believe government has to offer something. Are you following me?
Absolutely. But in the issue of the state policing matter, which has been suggested as one of the solutions to the problem.
No, that's not the solution.
No, it's been suggested as one of the solutions, and it's been debated on the floor of the National Assembly. Or you disagree that is not one of the solutions? What are your views on that?
Yeah, I'll give you my take on state police. State police will not work in Nigeria. Remember that we had some form of state police, regional police. We had an ordinance 4 of 1916 that formally established the regional police, native authority police in the north, and also in western Nigeria. There were factors that led to the abolition of state police. You remember with the 66 coup and the emergence of Ironsi government that appointed a Gobe committee that studied policing in Nigeria. They presented their report in 1968. So all those factors that led to abolition of regional police and formal entry into the central police, they've not changed. Nigeria is organic, is one unit. What it means is that if the eye is having problem, the brain could have problem. If the hand is having a problem, the waist could have problem. For you to have state police, it means that it has to be uniform in the 36 states. It has to be standardized in the 36 states. If it is uniform, if it is not uniform, if it is not standardized, then it is inherently unequal. You're going to have state police in a state like Lagos State that has poverty of 10 to 20% compared to states that have poverty rate of about 81%, illiteracy rate of 94%. How are you going to pay them? So if you police Lagos effectively, what is the guarantee that you're going to police these states in the north or wherever effectively? The standards are going to be different. They are not going to be uniform. In that case, they are inherently unequal. Then, of course, the factors that led to the abolition of state police in the beginning, elite capture of the system, influenced by political players and traditional players. Let me give you an example. We live in a democracy. For you to implement policies that are effective, those policies have to have positive influence on the greater majority of the people. I'm not worried about the big guys. I'm worried about the little guy who will be taken to the DPO's office. If he does not work, if you cannot detain him there, you take him to the area command. If you cannot detain him there, you take him to the police headquarters. If you can't get him there, you take him to the zonal command or you bring him to Abuja. Now you're going to have 36 different areas. Just multiply it. What about chronism? What about nepotism? What we need to do is to reinforce the police we have now. Build capacity, fund them. Forget about duplication of efforts. State police cannot work in a society where you have regional inequality, where you have gender inequality, where you have economic inequality. It cannot work.
But how would you then apologies, Your Excellency. How do you then explain the kind of federalism that we operate? Examples of other federal states like the United States, South Africa,
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
where you have obviously the manner in which all the federating units operate and they can handle their own
Okay.
affairs, where
Thank you.
governors, you've been a former governor, you're a former governor,
Yes.
and some governors are presently
Yes.
saying they do not have total control of the security situation of the
Okay.
country. So how do you
Okay.
then handle
Okay.
the situation where the power or the
Yes.
command has to come from
Thank
Abuja
you.
and you wait for that to control a
Thank you.
simple crime happening on the ground?
Thank you. Let's go back to the beginning. You talked about federalism. Federalism emerged through two systems. One is aggregation of sovereignties, right? Sovereign entities coming together, like you have in Canada, Australia, United States of America. Then you have devolution, where you now have devolution of powers to sub-national organizations, as in Nigeria, Pakistan, India. So the federalism we have in Nigeria is a devolution, unquote, where states were created based on nuances, what I will call nuances of those who were in power. So if you're having problem with one national police, you have problem with the electoral conflict, intertribal conflict, religious conflict. Imagine where you have 36 different police units to deal with, and federal. It won't work in Nigeria. It may work in Lagos State, but it may not work in states where you have 81% poverty. It's not going to work in states where you have 94% illiteracy rates. And Nigeria is organic. It's one unit. So when you leave one state and go to another state, you still come under the influence of the state police. It's not going to work. What we need to do is to refine the police we have now, build capacity, stop duplication of efforts, and go from there. State police will not work. When you're going to deal with state police, you're going to deal with so many variables. You're going to deal with chronism. You're going to deal with nepotism. You're going to have influence of the local government power base, the state power base. The traditional system is not going to work. It's not going to work.
So if you, understandably, the federating units are not the same. So surely the states are not equal. Can't each of them adapt the force to suit their situation?
No. Remember, it's organic. It's organic. So when you leave your state and go to the next state, what happens? Systems that are non-standardized, non-uniform, are inherently unequal. You're going to hire policemen indigenous of that state. Are you following me? If you have a poverty rate of 81%, how are you going to maintain state police? If you have an illiteracy rate of 94%, how are you going to maintain state police? So it's not going to work because Nigeria is organic. You have regional inequality. You have gender inequality. You have economic inequality. It's not going to work. When you leave your state that has an effective state police, you're going to go to another state that does not have effective state police. Look at the factors that led to the dissolution of state police. Has those factors changed? Have those factors? They've not changed. They're still the same.
Senator, politics is science, and political scientists who have designed and done a framework of how federal states should operate, and some of those who have debated that the reasons why we are having the kind of problems that we are having is because we are not operating a federalism that is true and true. So how do you defend when they say you are operating, in quote, a unitary system instead of operating a federal system?
You have to go back to basics.
And what is that basics?
National transformation.
Okay, that language has been well overused. Sorry, Senator. When we say restructure,
I'll break it down.
There's so many elements that come into it, but in simple terms, it means different things to different people.
Let me break it down.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes. When you're talking about federalism, you're talking about apportioning functions of governance. You're talking about sharing the wealth of governments, sharing the expenditure, sharing taxation. That is physical federalism and fiscal federalism. You're talking about how do we police ourselves. We have to define a system that is indigent to us, specific to Nigeria, that addresses the inequalities rather than adopting a system of state police as compared in America, compared in Canada, other states.
So how do we go? How do you go about this? Just to wrap up on this matter before we go into a bit of politics and before we allow you go, how do we go about? There was a 2014 Confab. Some are arguing, let us look into
Thank
it.
you.
Some are saying, let us sit down afresh.
Thank you.
Let the president get people together. But in your own view, from what you are proposing tonight, how do we get to this?
Yes, yes. When you study constitutional development in Nigeria, all through the 1914 Constitution, 1922 Clifford, Richardson, Macpherson, Littleton, to the Independence Constitution, to the 63 Republic Constitution, to the 79 Constitution, 92 Constitution, and 99 Constitution. What is lacking is a constitution that evolves from the people. Remember, our constitution, 14.2a, says that the sovereignty resides with the people, from which government derives its authority. Are you following me? So even though the people can give you opportunity, they still maintain the sovereignty. I believe that these constitutions are inherently deficient because they are not from the people. Nigeria is a country of multi-ethnic African nations, ethnic nationalities. Those ethnic nationalities are in Nigeria on basis of equality. Are you following me? Down in Nigeria on basis of inequality. The constitution that have been derived from all these fora are inefficient. They are unequal and they are unjust because those constitutions are results of machinations, political machinations, of people who got the people to make the constitution together. Are you following me? So what we need is a conference of ethnic nationalities on equal basis. Conference of ethnic nationalities on equal basis. Itiv 1, Biram 1, Igbo 1, Hausa Fulani 1, Yoruba 1, Ijaw 1. Multi-ethnic nationalities have to conference and produce a system that is equitable, that is fair and just. The system as it is, the National Assembly, state assemblies, the government paraphernalia as they are now, are inherently unjust because of the way they were derived. So you have Kanu with members of the House of Rep that may be equal to the entire Southeast. But remember how we started, how Bodilon formalized the three regions, East, West, and North, right? That was how we started. So if you're going to fashion a constitution based on the constitutional arrangement we have today, whatever comes out of it will be inherently unjust, unfair, and will not and cannot stand the test of time. Agitation will start all over. So we need to go back to a conference.
How soon can this conference happen?
Nationalities.
How soon should this conference happen? How soon should this conference you're talking about?
It should start immediately. It should start immediately, and the various ethnic nationalities, I believe, that are talking. You have Arewa Front, you have the Middle Belt, you have the Ohanese, you have the you have all sorts of national groups.
Who should convene it?
The government can superintend it.
Who should convene it? Who should convene
it? The government will superintend it. The government will superintend it. Then they will bring a framework that will now be taken to the assembly to formalize, to make it into law.
So you're saying we should discard the 2014 Confab? We should discard the 2014 Confab. It doesn't have basis.
No. How do you produce constitution? You're not going to discard anything. Constitutions emerge as a result of previous constitution. Okay. New ideas.
Okay.
Right? So we're going to bring everything to the table.
Okay. Let's wrap up now and with politics. Your party, the PDP, has the ambition of a revival in 2023. And this is after your party has been beaten twice consecutively in the presidential election. How does your party hope to achieve this?
Well, first of all, we have to give credit to PDP in Africa, midwifing a transition. that involved an opposition party. So we have to give kudos to PDP that they lost election and they accepted they've lost. I believe we have to get back to the drawing board and aggressively present our manifesto to Nigerians so that there can be a political resurgence in the country. I believe we have to get to work.
You think that Nigerians are hoping to reaccept you? You think you have done enough in terms of PR and the minds of average voter, those of them who rejected your party twice?
With what is happening in the country today, you don't need much PR. You don't need much PR with a poverty rate of 71%. You don't need much PR with an security architecture that has failed. You don't need much PR with a dollar of 500 to naira. You don't need much PR. You just need to get your act together and you win the election.
All right. So rotation of zoning, that arrangement is a PDP thing. As a foundation member of the People's Democratic Party, you understand just how this works. And you also know that this will play out for 2023. But your party has not had its way twice now, 2015, 2019. Where do you think the president should come from in 2023?
2 points. 2 points. As a foundation, being Igbo and coming from the southeast, if Nigeria provides an enabling environment where an Igbo southeasterner is facilitated to be elected president, we'll be grateful, we'll appreciate it. But first and foremost, I believe that who is president or where it is zoned is shallow, is ephemeral, without depth. Remember that we're talking about poverty. The presidency has been in northern Nigeria for how many years? 40 years, 50 years? But what is the poverty rate in the country? The elite in Nigeria is dysfunctional. So the mere fact that you've had the presidency does not transmit the economic growth and development. Are you following me? You have 16 million children on the streets in Nigeria, 14 million in northern Nigeria alone. So it's not the presidency that is the issue. The issue is providing an enabling environment where you have fair play, where the Hausa Fulani child, where the Igbo child, where the Yoruba child, where the Tiv child, where the Ijaw child has an opportunity of fulfilling his or her greatest potential, rather than the presidency as such. The presidency is overrated.
Senator Chimaroke Nnamani, the former governor. Okay, you wanted to say? So you wanted to say?
In Igbo, that's a man does not see all he does not say all he sees. I can tell you that the issue, the fight for a place in the firmament of Nigerian history does not rest with the presidency. It rests somewhere else. Nigerian presidency is overrated. It rests with factors that will affect
saying, because
the quality of life.
I premised the question on the fact that your party brought up this rotation arrangement. Is a PDP thing. You are a member of the PDP. You know the reasons why your party brought it up.
It's not just a PDP.
No, it's the PDP. It's a rotation idea. It's an unwritten rule in your party made popular by your party. So in 2023, without making it look like you're running away from the question, where should the presidency go, Senator Nnamani?
The presidency should go to the southeast, to the southeastern part of Nigeria, without question. To the Igbos, without question.
All right. We need to leave it at that. And I must sincerely thank you for coming out tonight to speak to us on Channels Television. Senator Chimaroke Nnamani, former governor of Enugu State, thank you for your time.
Thank you.